So my thanks to the management of Hodgers for all your help in facilitating this presentation, and my sincerest thanks to the staff for all your input and advice in putting this presentation together. I'm very grateful for your time and your interest, in particular your problem-solving skills, when this project hit a snag, which it invariably did many times. This presentation is for you, the carer, and how you can support caring in your practice. We hear a lot these days of how we as practitioners cannot separate care from education in the early years, and this work demonstrates a model which not only teaches the children to care for one another, but also demonstrates a model to the adults of how to sustain ongoing full-time care as a career. Aistear is brought in as a very useful resource owing to its social and emotional philosophy, which underpins our entire curriculum, and for its ideas on implementing activities which foster social and emotional skills, and its advice on how we can assess for learning and progress in these areas. We begin with the infants in the nursery, and from there we cover the preschool years up to the age of 6. So let's begin.
Social and emotional training,
is
like
a
I
fairly
say,
new
it's a
field
fairly
to
new
child
field in the
development.
last 10
It's
years
an
or so,
amalgamation
but it
of
always
developmental
begins
psychology
with
and
the adult.
neuroscience. In the last 10 years, research into child development has turned its attention to brain development and the implications for caring for young children's cognitive development. And what research is telling us is that emotions should always begin with the adult. We are the gatekeepers of healthy emotional relationships with the children in our care. And these relationships form the basis of subsequent relationships that the children will go on to have and to nurture and to carry with them, possibly right up until they finish secondary school. Because remember, the children that they start preschool with, or even nursery with, will be the same children that they will start primary school with, will be the same children that they may start secondary school with, may also be the same children that they start college with. So what we're looking for is strong, supportive relationships, and teaching children how they can support their relationships through social and emotional training, and also through having empathy for others. So the next slide will show you how to support that process.
What behaviours are we asking you to look for? Well, we're asking you to look for, in the nursery especially, we're asking you to look for temperament, and from that to develop close attachments with your children. Temperament comes in 3 forms. We can have easy, difficult, or slow to warm. Now, if we have an easy child, then everything will be easy and there won't be much problems. If we have a difficult child, then the relationship between the carer and the child may not just be as easy as the previous model. If we have a slow to warm child, equally we can have problems there. And it all goes down to temperament. And further from that, it goes to understanding temperament from the adult's perspective. So that's why interactions are always adult-led. So what we're looking for would be to identify the child's temperament to begin with. And when we have identified which temperament he comes under, well, then we can mould that temperament into a trusting relationship, so that if we have a difficult child, well, we can make sure that his needs are met sufficiently and consistently enough so that he will develop a trusting relationship with his carer, knowing that his needs will be met. And equally, if we have a slow to warm child, we can easily make them come in and feel that their needs will be met, and we do that by consistently making sure that those needs are met. So we're looking for temperament. We're looking to say, okay, well, what kind of a child do we have here? What is his temperament, and how can we mould that so that he will form strong relationships for the rest of his life? He will base most of it on the relationships that he forms as a very young infant. So moving on then from the nursery into pro-social skills for the key years. Now, pro-social skills, children don't come into this world with their social skills under their arm. They must be taught. And we as childcare practitioners are on the front line of seeing most of the conflict that goes on. The UN have nothing on us. We can make sure that we can resolve conflict in any dimension. Again, we're moving into self-regulation. Now, it used to be that, years ago you would sort of try to solve the argument for the children. Now, research is telling us that what we want children to solve their own arguments. We want them to be pro-social. We want them to have self-regulation skills so that they can regulate their own responses and their own emotions. And they can eventually get to a stage where they're using their verbal skills to resolve difficulties instead of lashing out. And like a lot of things, this has to be taught. So before we go any further, what I'd like you to do would be to click into each film here in a series of successions. So you click into the first one, have a little look at it, come back out, click into the second, and again have a little look, come back out, and then the third, click into the third and come back out. And when you do that, then we will come back and talk more, because what research is telling us is that the architecture of the infant brain is the building blocks of the rest of his personality. And as childcare practitioners, we are the gatekeepers of the neurons and the connections that get formed within that year. So have a look, and we'll talk more when you come back.